So it's time for us to build our budget $700 gaming PC. As always, all of our parts are in the description below. We'll also be providing benchmarks at the end of this video, so don't click away. Of course, we need to address the elephant in the room, the GPU shortage. This build in a normal world scenario would cost you around $700 with the GPU. But with the ridiculous high prices right now, that's not exactly the case. Because of all this, we've included an APU into this build, so you can opt to use that and wait for your chosen GPU at a later date. Okay guys, who's ready? Let's get into it. Starting with our motherboard first, which is the MSI B450 Gaming Plus Max. Now, this may not be a premium motherboard, but it still offers a bunch of features and is ready for upgrades when the time comes. Also, you don't yet have the budget to get the components to justify something more expensive at this price range anyway. As previously mentioned, we are using an APU on this board, and it is the Ryzen 5 3400G. The 3400G is a great option to play low-intensive games at 1080p while maintaining smooth playable FPS. The 3400G also comes with its own CPU cooler, the Race Stealth, which is what we are going to be using in this build. We don't need fancy cooling solutions such as an AIO for this particular build, so this is where we are going to save some money on the total cost. For the RAM, we are using XPG Spectrix D60G. Yes, we are treating you to some RGB RAM, don't you worry. We are using two 8GB sticks of 3600 MHz RAM, so you are going to get some incredible performance out of this kit. The case we are going to be using is the Phanteks P360A. With a full mesh panel at the front with two DRGB fans, you are getting a lot of airflow performance straight out of the box. Moving on to the PSU, and we are going to be using the Thermaltake Smart RGB 500 watts. This is an inexpensive non-modular power supply. Cable management should be more than achievable thanks to the case we have used in this build. The PSU is perfect wattage and will generously supply the GPU we have chosen to use. For the storage, we have opted for the crucial BX500 480GB. We've decided to go for an SSD over the more traditional HDD in this build because it adds so much more to the performance and overall usability of the system. Going for the 480GB storage option will allow us to comfortably hold a bunch of your favorite games. And of course, finally we have the GPU. For this build, we have chosen to use the Radeon XFX 580. This might not be the best card on the market, but it is still considered one of the top entry-level GPUs for this current price range. The GPU can easily provide 1080p 60 frames per second in most modern games on max settings. Okay guys, it wouldn't be a WePC video without a quick montage. Okay, so it's time to see what this $700 build is capable of doing in some popular games. We firstly threw it into CSGO, a rather undemanding competitive title. This is a game where you really want the most FPS you can get. We got an average of 146 FPS on 1080p at ultra settings, which is an incredible result. We then threw it into another competitive title, Fortnite. This was a lot more demanding than CSGO, so it was interesting to see the differences between the two. We managed to pull an 88 frames per second average at 1080p ultra settings. This was amazing to see, as personally, I never liked playing anything that wasn't at least 60 FPS, and of course you can always drop the quality settings to get even more FPS. Competitive games out the way, we also tested out two story games, The first being Days Gone. This is quite a graphically demanding game, and when tested in 1080p Ultra, we got 64 frames per second average. Once again, I am very impressed with the results. With a single player story game like this, you only really need to pull 60 frames per second, and you really do want to be playing at max resolution. And our final game is Cyberpunk 2077. Now we have to remember this game is incredibly intensive and is extremely demanding on the GPU. We tested this game on medium to high settings and it managed to pull 47 frames per second average. We didn't switch to Ultra though because, well, we didn't want to set the office on fire. So that's been our $700 build. I hope you liked it. All the links to the products will be down in the description if you'd like to go and check them out. Please give us a like and a subscribe and stick around for another one of our PC builds on our channel.